This drawing started as an ugly sketch, but ended up like this without using line art, and I'm going to show you how I did it. Hello again, I'm Derry, and let's begin. If line art is not for you, and you just want to paint your drawing, you've come to the right video. In this video, I'll teach you how to go from this to this, without using line art. Some people might say this sketch is ugly, but I think it's enough to create a beautiful illustration. So let's get started. First of all, we have to understand that using or not using line art doesn't make you a better or worse artist. It's just a different way to create art, and it depends a lot on your style or the final result you want to achieve. So, knowing this, we can start this method in two different ways. One is working from shapes. Honestly, I really like this way of working, but I don't do it often because it's still very hard for me. I need more practice. So in this piece, I'm going to use another method, which is starting with a rough sketch. Well, actually, I make two sketches. The first sketch is really simple. I only draw it to block in the pose I want. I don't add details or anything like that, just simple dynamic lines to give me an idea of the pose. I make more than one sketch, and in the end, I choose the one I like the most. I recommend you do the same. Iterate and experiment, and don't just stick with the first thing you draw. You can also merge ideas from different sketches to create a better one. And now, we can move on to the next phase. Now I draw a second sketch where I add the main details of my character. At this point, you can choose to add more or fewer details. But as you can see, my sketch is very rough and messy. Don't forget, this is just a sketch, not line art, okay? As I was saying, I keep it rough because I'll add all the details during the rendering phase. Once you have this second sketch, the next step is to apply the flat colors. I create a new layer for the flat colors below the sketch layer. And once again, I start coloring in a rough way. I'm not looking for perfection at this point. Both the sketch and the flat colors are just a base, or rather a guide, that will help me add details later. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. It's time to render. At this point, I like to merge all the layers so I can gradually get rid of the sketch, although I still like to keep some parts of it visible. Now is where we use all our painting skills and start adding shadows, light, textures, and everything else. The order doesn't really matter, but just to follow a structure, I usually start with the shadows to define the main light source, and after that, I move on to full rendering. The order in which you add details isn't important either, but I usually work from top to bottom or bottom to top. That's just a personal habit. In this piece, I started with the face and hair, then continued with the arm and everything else. Generally, for drawings like this, I paint everything on a single layer, but if the character has props, like a weapon, I paint those on a separate layer, because it makes things easier. In this case, the sword is on a different layer, so I can paint it separately. With the drawing almost finished, the final step is adding textures, like the tattoo on the arm and the embroidery on the clothing. To finish, I add a simple background for 2 reasons. First, because the main focus is the character, and a detailed background would take attention away from it. And second, because I don't know how to draw backgrounds. Sorry, and that's it. We've finished. We achieved this final result, which I honestly like a lot, without going through line art or even a clean sketch, starting only from a rough sketch and simple flat colors that worked as a base for everything else. Tell me, have you ever tried painting directly from your sketch without using line art? Or tell me if your style is lineless, or if you depend a lot on line art. Whatever your process is, I'll be reading your comments. That's it for this video. I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We're very close to reaching 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.